This is the book analysis for Elizabeth Kolbert's The Sixth Extinction. So, the Earth is known for its vast array of biomes and environments, ranging from Arctic tundras to dense rainforests teeming with wildlife of all kinds. Now, imagine all of it ceasing to exist. It's hard, isn't it? That's because it's only happened 5 times in the history of the planet. And the last time it happened was 66 million years ago. These times are known as mass extinction events. Now, these can happen from giant asteroids to volcanoes to much more. But this next one could happen a lot sooner than you or I might think, and it might be because of us. And that's exactly what Elizabeth Kolbert dives into in her book. Now, the main idea of the book is that we humans are in the middle of the sixth mass extinction event, and it's all because of us. Humans are killing the planet in a plethora of different ways, all which are explored in the book. Everything from deforestation to carbon emissions to wrecking the environment, or to and everything seems to be damaging the environment. There are countless examples of humans wrecking the environment. This needs to end because humans heavily rely on the ecosystem for climate, air, water, food, and much more, and so do all other life forms as well. Now, humans are destroying the environment in plenty of different ways. One being habitat destruction. And this can include deforestation, paving over grass, draining wetlands, or just overbuilding in general and forcing those animals out of their homes and leaving them nowhere else to go. One of the biggest examples of habitat destruction today would be the deforestation going on in the Amazon rainforest. And you take away the habitat of so many of those animals, they'll have nowhere else to go and they'll start to disappear. This completely throws off the ecosystem and kills biodiversity. Things like this are happening everywhere, whether it's coral reefs being destroyed from carbon emissions or forests being cut down for neighborhoods. Now, depending on how a specific habitat is being destroyed, there could be a couple of ways to potentially prevent this from happening. One of the big ways to prevent this has been implemented a little bit already, and that's with the national parks in the United States. Having designated areas of nature that are protected by the government proves to be effective for certain places. Maybe by adding more rules and regulations aimed at protecting nature will also prove to be effective. Now, another way the ecosystem is being destroyed is through climate change. Now, climate change is probably the most renowned and most talked about, and that's for good reason. Greenhouse gases are warming the planet's temperature at an alarming rate, so fast that species can't adapt quick enough. A great example of this is what Elizabeth Kolbert likes to call the escalator to extinction. She talks about the escalator extinction, and it's about the animals in the Andes mountain ranges. These animals are slowly moving further and further up the mountain because of warming temperatures, and eventually they're going to run out of mountain to go to, and the planet will be too warm for them to survive on. And this is why it's called the escalator to extinction, because they're slowly climbing further and further up the mountain to their extinction. Now, climate change is driving those animals into extinction and many more just like them around the world. Now, there are many ways to help against climate change, but there's also a lot of work to be done against climate change. The biggest thing we can do is try our best to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, which can be done in nearly every aspect of our daily lives. Humans negatively affect climate change in countless ways that you wouldn't even think of. The next way Earth's biodiversity and ecosystem is being destroyed is through invasive species. Now, invasive species will disrupt the ecosystem and just completely take it over. Um, they can get to these new environments through human travel and transport, and when we mix environments, this happens all too often. Like in Guam, for example, Elizabeth Colbert tells the story about the brown tree snake when and how it completely eliminated Guam's bird population. And the scary part about that story was just how fast it happened. It happened, and that's the case for a lot of these invasive species. Sometimes, by the time we realize it, it's too late to prevent it from happening, and the invasive species has already taken over too much. Um, so there's a couple things we can do to prevent invasive species, and that's just being very careful with mixing environments. And when you see an invasive species, try to remove it. And another another form of destruction that we have been known to do are overusing our resources. And that can be from anything from overhunting and overfishing to chopping down trees and overmining certain materials. Now, overhunting is when we hunt and harvest animals fast, faster than they can reproduce, which leads to their extinction. And this happened with many animals and is still happening to this very day in all continents. Now, one example is the great auk. The great auk was a flightless bird which was hunted for food, oil, and feathers. The bird went extinct in the 19th century from overhunting. This goes to show how easily a species can go extinct just from hunting. Luckily, today there are groups and organizations aimed to try to prevent any more extinctions from occurring. This, along with government help, can prevent any species from going extinct again, I believe. Now, these are just a couple of the methods of destruction for the ecosystem, but there are plenty more stories, and there are plenty more stories of extinction and killing biodiversity, and there's plenty of other ways humans do it as well. But one particular story that Elizabeth Colbert shared in chapter one really stuck with me, and that's the story of the Panamanian golden frog. Now, Elizabeth Colbert visited a valley town in Panama where they had a conservation center that was filled with Panamanian golden frogs. Now, the Panamanian golden frog was once a thriving species in Central America, known for its bright yellow color. Suddenly, these frogs started mysteriously dying all over, and no one knew why. Eventually, it was figured out that because of an invasive fungal species that invaded the habitat and started to wipe out the population of frog and other amphibians, the fungus wasn't from Central America, and it turns out it only got there because of human travel, trade, and movement. This story stood out in particular to me because humans were seemingly damaging the ecosystem and the environment without even knowing it, and with seemingly not doing anything involving it, but they were still damaging it. And this is important to me because I believe that human behavior and their mindset may be the biggest problem that is destroying our ecosystem, and it could also be the biggest solution to helping prevent the next mass extinction. Now, could society's unawareness be the biggest problem? For me, I think it could be, yes, because people, for the most part, have short-term thinking mindset when it comes to the environment. People sometimes, a lot of times, assume and that we have unlimited resources and they will never run out, and that's just not the case, as we know. But so many people focus on short-term gains and ignore what the long-term effects may be. Do you think people would be as careless when it comes to climate change or overusing resources if they truly knew the damage it would cause? No, of course not. No one wants to destroy the environment, but why do we? For me, I think it's comes from not being able to fully grasp what we're doing. So awareness may just be the biggest solution to preventing the sixth mass extinction, because if everyone plays their part and helps out, even if it feels small to you, on a global scale, the difference could be significant. Now, what can you do to help in your homes and communities? Um, there's simple actions that if all of us do can really add up to make a huge difference, um, and prevent loss of biodiversity in our communities and planet. Uh, to prevent the destruction of habitats, you can reduce single-use plastics. You can keep your yard more natural and volunteer with conservation organizations to help against climate change. To help against climate change, you can use less energy around the house by turning off lights, turning off devices, and more. Plant trees, and by supporting local farms more than buying processed foods. To help fight against invasive species, if you see them, try to remove them. Try to plant plants that are native of your area. Don't release your pets into the wild, and avoid spreading species by cleaning your gear, whether it's hiking boots, gloves, fishing rods, boats, etc. And to prevent overusing resources, you can conserve energy and water and recycle, drive less, and use sustainable products. And finally, to help raise awareness, which I think could be the biggest one, you can do plenty of things. You can join clubs, you can make flyers, you can volunteer, you can talk to your friends and family. I think that could be the biggest one. Or you could do what Elizabeth Colbert did and wrote a book. Now, Um, The Sixth Extinction by Elizabeth Colbert is here to let us know the danger humans are putting the Earth in, and she doesn't just tell us. She brings up relevant examples and stories for each way the ecosystem is being destroyed around the world. Sure, the causes of this extinction event isn't a volcano or a giant asteroid, because we know if it was a giant asteroid, we would be investing a lot of money and a lot of time to stop it, but it's us. So, if Elizabeth Colbert's goal is to prevent this mass extinction event, she's off to a good start because of how this book acts as a way to inform people, just like myself, of the impending dangers that we're putting our planet in.